Hello, good people, and welcome to Finance Skills Hub. Here, we learn, we connect, and we grow. For most Excel users, looking up information is a very popular activity. So we know VLOOKUP, index match, XLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and all the functions in the lookup family. But what if you had to look up information from an online source in such a way that anytime that online source changes, example, let's say you connect to look up FX rates, daily FX rates, can you set up a system where it looks up for the daily FX rates so that you don't have to recalculate every time? Okay, it is possible using Power Query and Power Pivot. And in this case that I'm going to show you. So as usual, fire up your Excel and let's go through this step by step. Okay, so we begin with this sales data, a very simple sales data. We have product here, we have city where the product was sold, and then we have the total value of the product that was sold. But there are two important columns in this data. The first one is the currency column, right? These values are in different currencies. Now we're operating in Ghana, so we want these foreign values to be converted into the actual value in cedis in Ghana, right? So we have to look up for the daily FX rates or the current rates for each currency. Now the idea is that we now multiply and then get the outstanding value for each item that has been sold. We want to particularly stress on the items that have not been paid for yet. Okay, so in a report, we pay attention to the outstanding, right? So two things: take the currency, multiply it by the daily rates from an online source, okay, and then filter for those that have not been paid yet, right? Now, to be able to get the daily currency rates, we'll have to go online, right? So if it's your policy to use maybe the central bank's rates, you can always go online. So in the case of Ghana, this is available at the Bank of Ghana portal. So I have this link that gives me the daily mid rates. Okay, so at the time of doing this video, we have the latest, which is 16th. Now, the thing about this portal is that if the next updates happens, all this is going to be replaced with the next day's mid rates. Okay, so it's going to be then useful to always multiply this. There are no other dates here, as you can see. Okay, if you want a historical, this website also gives you the historical, but for our purpose, this portal is just for the daily rates. Okay, so I've copied this and go to Power Query. Okay, so we are going to bring that same data you saw into our current workbook, have the two data sets in the same workbook, and then go with that calculation, right? So I'll go to data, then launch Power Query. So this is Power Query. You can get data from multiple sources, right? Even in recent times, you can add images and all that. Now, for our purpose, we are loading this from other sources from the web. Okay, same icon is also here, right? If you want a shortcut. So I'll launch this from the web. Okay, now it gives me this dialog box where I just have to paste in the URL, right? So this is a basic query, so it will just go through the process and then load it. Okay, so at this point, you realize that we have some tables here. It's gone through the process. You can always preview the tables. So table 1 is not exactly what we are looking for. Table 2 looks close. Okay, so in table 2, you realize that we have all the rates here. Then they also suggest a table for table 3, which doesn't have all the currencies, right? So we'll stick to table 2, okay? Now there's a new feature in Power Query. It used to be in Power Query in Power BI, but now it's available in Excel. The option to create your own table using an example. So if the shape of what it has queried doesn't meet your specification, you can suggest an example of how the table should look like. It will use the pattern you have suggested and then create your table from that source. So let's try that, because basically what we need is just a currency and a mid rate. Okay, even though we could do this in Power Query directly, I just want you to know that this feature exists to modify the shape of the table. So let's use this one. So add table using examples. Okay, so what's going to do is that you are going to have a preview of the current output here. Okay, so you see that we have all our tables here. So I just want to concentrate on grabbing just the currency and the mid rate. And I can suggest this in the table below. So The first header is going to be currency, okay, and then the second header is going to be mid-rate. So I'll type mid-rate. It helps if you spell it correctly, right? So for the currency, the first currency I have is the US dollar, right? As I type, it even suggests it for me, so I'll just double click, okay, and then the corresponding rates as you have it is 13.7. Okay, so I'm going to do this, right, and then come in here and then give it a second example, which should be enough for it to pick the pattern, right? So here I'm going to do the pound sterling. Okay, now I realize the moment I step in to type the second one, right, it picks the pattern and it clearly knows what I'm looking for. So my currency and my mid-rate table is now created, right? I'll go ahead and then click OK. So this comes in as table 4, right? Just the currency and then the mid-rate. If there are any modifications that you want, you can add it from the example. Now I'll go ahead and then transform this data. So I have this in Power Query at the moment. Okay, so it comes in as table 4. If you like, you can even name this. So let's call this currency table. So the reason we created this table is to be able to look up the daily FX rates. Okay, so now that this has been done, we are going to take it and load it into the data model, right? In the data model, you can add different tables, connect them, establish relationships, and then do your calculations, right? So let's do that. So under home, close and load, I'll choose close and load to. Okay, so close and load to gives me options. Now instead of a table, I'll choose create connection, okay, and then add this to the data model. This way, I don't have to see the physical table in my workbook, but I can still work with it. Okay, so with this, I can commit this to the data model. Okay, so now our query has loaded. Okay, so we have all our currencies here, 19. Now this is in the data model. In Excel, the data model is in Power Pivot. Okay, so to see the data model, you have to activate the Power Pivot tab. If you are doing this for the first time, you can go to Data, okay, and then activate Power Pivot from here. That is if you don't have the tab, okay. Now, if Power Pivot is enabled, you can now load this other data sets, this table, into the data model. So you have the two at the same place. So to do that, you can stand in the table, come to Power Pivot, and then add or load this into the data model. So let me do that. Okay, so now that I have my two tables side by side, my currency table and my original table, name table 1, I need to be able to bring the corresponding currency rates into the original table. That is the lookup, but we don't have to do a VLOOKUP or an XLOOKUP. All we need to do is connect the two tables, right? I'm currently in the data view, so I'll switch to the diagram view. So over here, I can see the two tables side by side, my original table, which is table 1, and the currency table. Right? So to make that lookup possible, I have to connect currency, okay, to this currency. Okay, so on the currency side, I have a unique list of the currencies, and in my sales table, I have my various currencies. Okay, so with this table, so with this relationship established, I can now go ahead, okay, and then do the calculation. Right, so the conversion is going to take this total and then multiply it by the corresponding rate over there. You can do all this in the data model. So to do that, I've selected this blank column. The name of the column is going to be conversion. I'll bring a colon and an equal sign. Okay, this way I can get the calculation done with the column header automatically created. Right, so my formula is going to be first in the current table, I'll bring a square bracket and pick total. Okay, and then multiply this by the rates in the other table. Now to get the rates, I'm going to use a DAX function called related. Okay, so if I bring related, because the two tables are connected, I get to see the two other columns in the other table. So I'll multiply this by mid rates, okay, and then close my bracket. Right, so if I press enter, now I have my conversion. Okay, I can format this correctly. So this is my conversion. From here, this adjusted sales table, I can create a pivot table directly. Remember, this is different from the original one, right? So right here, I can go here, start a pivot table, okay, put it in a new worksheet. Okay, let me enable content. So now in my pivot table, you realize that I have my currency table and then I have my sales table. I can use any of the columns in these two tables to create my final report. So I'll bring in conversion, right? And if you like, I can even break this down by city. So this is the basic report, but we are here for those that have not paid. Okay, so in the column that has paid, I'll drag this as a filter, okay, and then bring in just the nose. Okay, so I have the nose. So this is what I have. So to even see the original currency side by side, I can bring in the original column, that is the total. Okay, so I can push it here. So you see that these were the original values. Even further break this down by the currency itself. Okay, so for this branch, we know that this euro amount was outstanding, and then this is the conversion. So if you want to even test, right, you can even check the multiplication. Okay, so if I divide this by that, realize that this is the euro rate, all the rates consistent here. Okay, so for those that have errors, you can wrap this around an if error, okay, and then copy it down just to give an idea that this is working. Okay, so consistently you have all the dollar rates multiplied. So the good thing here is that our original table is still intact. Okay, so what it means is that if somebody pays and then we switch this to no, we can always go and refresh. Okay, it will run through, get the latest FX rates, okay, and then update this outstanding report. Well, Excel is a very powerful tool. You can use it for a lot of your data analysis tasks. If you are new to Power Query, Power Pivot, DAX, and how you can even take advantage of Excel to create an interactive dashboard, then I encourage you to get my book, Data Modeling with Microsoft Excel. You can grab a copy on Amazon. If you are in Ghana too, you can reach out. I have a few hard copies left. And I believe that you'll be able to use some of these features to add value to your reporting at work. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you in the next video.
If this video was helpful and you would like to receive more of these videos directly on your WhatsApp, you can send ad to this WhatsApp number. We'll add you to our broadcast list so you receive our videos directly. You can also visit our YouTube channel, Finance Skills Hub. All our old videos are here. Please subscribe for notification of new videos, or connect with us on any of these social media handles. Thank you so much for watching.